So if you're anything like me, an acoustic drummer looking to get into electronic drum triggers, you become trigger happy, but you don't even know where to begin. What equipment do I use? Am I doing it right? What price points should I be looking for? Well, if you're thinking about all of that stuff, you've come to the right place, I think. Welcome to KMKanDrum, and I'm going to show you how I got into drum triggers. A lot of you guys out there, you're already on electronic kits. This video is not for you. This is for the acoustic drummer trying to not so much dive into the electronic drum trigger world, but more dip their toes into this huge ocean of electronica just to see if the temperature's right. You might be wanting to expand your drum set. You might be wanting to accentuate your acoustic sound. You might be wanting to actually replace some sounds on certain songs and certain applications. With this setup, you can do all of those things. And I'm going to show you how I came about all of this. And by no means am I a pro. I just know that for a long time, I was very against anything electronic. I bought a V-drum set back in 2008, 7, 8, something like that. I didn't really like it. I sold it. I also fumbled with certain drum pads, the Roland pad with 8 different pads on it. I didn't like that either. And I was just never really satisfied with anything electronic that I had played on the drums. Fast forward to a couple of months ago, and a friend of mine had written a song, and I was going to put drums to it. And the acoustic drum beat that I put on there, it just wasn't doing the song justice. So I figured this might be a nice entryway for me to learn how to trigger my set and maybe add some sounds that normally wouldn't be there that will help the music. Because in the end, that's your end goal, is to make the music as best as you can. For us drummers who have some sort of recording background or recording history or are session drummers now, the mentality is to do whatever it takes to make the music better. You throw away ego, you throw aside, for me, whenever I do a drum cover, especially a drum cover where I'm changing the original drum line, like if I'm doing a pop song or a hip hop song and they have programmed drums, my mentality is to go in there as if I was a session drummer and there was no drums on that track, what would I play? And a lot of times, at least I've done a couple of videos with these triggers already that I'll post links to, so you can check out exactly what I'm talking about. For those songs, I played what I would play if I was the session drummer, but I also added electronic sounds that would kind of pay homage to the original track. So that's kind of the mentality of what I'm trying to do with these triggers. Is not so much replace the acoustic sound, but just enhance the sound. And that's what this video is for. Guys like me, drummers like me, who love their acoustic kit, but they just want to give it that extra dynamics, or maybe bring it more modern and up to date. So basically what I'll do is I'll go over all of my equipment, what I use, how I use it. I'll show you how easy it is to set up and how easy it is to use. And I'll even go over pricing and show you that it's not that big of a gamble to invest in all this stuff, and just to see, if it works for you. So let's start off with an overview of the equipment. There's essentially 3 main factors that you need to think about when going into the electric world. You need to think about the brains, which is the drum module. You need to think about the body, which would be the triggers. And then you need to think about the arms and legs, which would be the cables. And that's all. We're going to go over the drum module first. Right here, this is my module. It's tiny. It's got a small footprint. It fits right underneath my hi-hat cymbal, so I have easy access to it. And it's the Roland TM2. Now, Roland is the king of anything electronic drum related, right? They have the V drums, they have crazy $2,000 drum modules and whatnot, and the spectrum of their electronic drum catalog is huge. They're the benchmark when it comes to electronic drums. When they came out with this thing, you know that it was going to be a good product. And I think it's actually tailored to me and people like me who they're not looking to convert fully to electronics, but they want to just enhance their acoustic kit. This thing, I'll put the actual price on the screen, but depending on whether you buy it new or used and where you buy it, it's anywhere between $200 and $300. Compare it to some of Roland's other modules that are $1,000, $2,000. That's pretty much a steal. It comes stocked with a ton of sounds. I don't know exactly how many, but there are a lot of sounds, probably more than I'll ever use. But if you end up going through all the sounds and you don't like any of the sounds, or some of them just aren't right for you, there's also this SD card that you can basically put your own sounds in. Right there, that's another really cool factor. Just that it's small and it's easy to use. This thing I highly recommend. It's a great entry into getting into drum triggers. And again, I'm not a pro. I just barely started off myself, but what I've already accomplished, I'm totally satisfied and happy with. So going from the drum module, I'm going to talk about the triggers. Right now I'm using two ddrum acoustic drum triggers. The one on the snare is a dual trigger, which means it can pick up sound from the rim and the snare, the head. And then the bass drum just picks up the head, because that's really all you play anyway. These two triggers, I think, are in the $30 range. Roland also makes the same type of triggers, but they're actually a lot more expensive. They're in the $45-ish range. The reason why I went with ddrum is because comparably they're the same as far as reliability and performance-wise. Roland and ddrum triggers perform pretty much the same, and that's all that really matters to me. If you start bringing in aesthetics, then yes, the Roland looks better, probably lighter. It's probably got a smaller footprint, so there's less, you see less of it. But none of that really matters to me. What mattered to me diving into this whole thing was cost and reliability. So because those triggers are as reliable as the Roland triggers, it made a lot more sense to me to pay a lot less money. So those are the triggers that I'm using. I've got my snare trigger set up at around 11 o'clock on the snare, and my bass drum trigger at about 1 o'clock on the bass drum. Neither of them are anywhere near where I play, so they don't get in my way. About the only thing that you can say about these is that they're a little bit boxy and they're bright red with the white logo, so they kind of stand out. If you have a colored set, they might clash. I don't know. I have a black set, so it doesn't really matter to me. Would it look better if I had the black Roland triggers? Possibly, but it doesn't justify the difference in price. So I went with the ddrums, and they are working just fine. And the last thing is the cables. So going into the triggers, there's an XLR. From the trigger into the module is a 1/4 inch. So you have to have a XLR 1/4 inch cable. You have to have two of them for the two triggers. Again, you can go $20, $30, $40 for those cables. I bought two, I think, for like $8 or $9 each, and I'll be listing all of this stuff. I'll put Amazon links for all of it in the description. And then going out of the module and into your interface, you can do one of two things. You can do a mono channel, one cord, 1/4 inch cord out, and going 1/4 inch going into your line input on your audio interface, or you can do stereo, so 2/4 inch out and then into two separate tracks on your interface. The reason to do stereo, which is what I do, is just in case you want to pan some of your instruments. Like if you want to pan a cowbell that you have set to your rim, you can do that. If you do one mono, everything's in the center. Right now, I have everything programmed to the center. My bass drum and the two snare triggers, they're all panned to the center. So I could technically use only one track, but I keep it set up as two tracks just in case I might want to pan later on down the road. And those cables, again, you can go $20, $30 a piece, but I went with the cheap cables. They were probably like $7 or $8, and they, up until now, have been working just fine. And later on down the line, if I do want to get better cables, I can do that. At the beginning, it's best to be more cost effective, because who knows, the setup might not work. The setup might not work for you. You might not like doing acoustic drum triggers. So the least amount of money that you can waste is best. All in, the total was around $350, and I think it was a good gamble to invest that money and find out that, yes, I really do like this setup. It works. It works with my interface. It works with my digital audio workstation, Logic Pro, and yeah, everything is super easy to set up and use. So that is a good segue into how I set everything up and how I use it. So basically, I told you where I have the triggers set up, how they're plugged in, and how they're plugged into my interface. And basically, I don't think it matters too much what interface you use and what DAW you use, as long as you can get that 1 or 2 1/4-inch outputs into your interface. Like if you have an 8-channel interface, right, and you're using all 8 of the channels, you're going to have to find a way to expand if you really want to use these triggers, right? Because you need at least 1 extra track. If you're using only 7, you can use this, just 1 1/4-inch into your last track. For me, I have an 8-channel interface and an 8-channel preamp. So I have 16 tracks. So I have plenty of tracks to be able to use this digital setup. As far as using, I really don't have to set anything up. Everything has already been set up initially, and from there it's just plug and play. All I have to do is fumble with the module and we're good to go. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of the TM2. There's tons of videos out there that go button to button, setting to setting. They just go through the whole thing with a fine-tooth comb. I'm not going to do that. It's going to take way too long. And there's already videos that probably do it way better than I do. I don't even know most of the stuff on this yet anyways. I haven't done a complete dive in. I'm basically probably only going to use 10% of this thing. In a live application, this thing would work so great because it's so small. The buttons are easy to use and navigate, and you don't even really need to look. You can do it all by feel, and they're easy to push. You know exactly when you push down and what you're activating and whatnot. And then the LCD screen makes it easy to see if you're in that live setting and there's no lights, or the lights are low, or there's a lot of fog, you'll still be able to see your display. So in a live setting, it'd be great. I'm probably never going to use it in a live setting, but that's another thing that you can do with this TM2. Really quickly, here's the volume knob, here's the power button, and here's some buttons that allow you to go through each trigger and each setting of each sound. So right now I'm going to push number 1, which is my bass drum sound, and you'll hear the effect that I use for my bass drum. Oh, that's the stomp. That's not normally what I use. I use this boom out. So here we go. So that's the effect that I have on the trigger on my bass drum. Now with the boom out, I can hit the plus or minus signs and change sounds. I can have this be my bass drum sound. I don't know when I would ever use that, but it's cool. It's cool to have. Some really cool different sounds. So anyways, I'm going to go back to my boom out. And using these arrows, you can filter through all the different settings. You can change the level, the dynamics, the pitch, the pan. There's so many of these settings that you can go through. Most of them I don't even touch or play with. But yeah, you can go through. Each sound has a bunch of different things that you can change. So we'll go to my snare now. And right there, it's the number 133 Impact ATKR. I don't even know what that stands for, but that's the snare sound that I use on my snare head. It kind of acts as a buffer to my acoustic snare sound. So when I'm playing along to a really poppy or hip hop song, it sort of takes the edge off of the attack on my snare drum, and it kind of evens it out. And when I'm playing rolls especially, the rolls tend to even out if I'm going up and down in dynamics, which sometimes I do. And then I haven't been able to figure out how to change to the rim sound other than to just hit the rim. But there you hear the clap that I have on the rim, and you see it change to the clap. So you can change the sound. We'll go back to the original. You can change the sound, you can change the effects, same thing. So yeah, those are the sounds that I use. There's way more sounds. There's a tambourine, there's cowbells, there's cymbals, there's toms, there's bass drums. You can have a bass drum on your snare, you can have a snare drum on your bass. The possibilities are endless. And it's just, yeah, it's super easy to, once you set it up, it's basically, like I said, it's plug and play. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just play something with no effects, just so you can hear the drums by themselves. And then I'm going to add the effects, and you'll hear what they sound like. So here goes, no effects. Simple, right? Okay, so now I'm going to add the triggers, and you'll hear that enhanced sound coming from those electronic sounds. Now there was some unevenness as far as me playing, hitting rim shots and not hitting rim shots, and hearing the clap and not hearing the clap. That's all me. I need to, it actually shows how uneven of a player I am. I thought I was pretty good, but machines don't lie. Not only is it a great tool for recording and playing live, it's also a great tool to kind of expose what you need to work on. I've already found out that a lot of my rolls are uneven. A lot of my rim shot hits are not even. And you know, I used to pride myself on being able to hit a rim shot even all the time. So maybe it's time, maybe it's that I'm a little bit out of practice. I don't know what it is, but you know, it's showing me things that I need to work on. So there's so many benefits to this setup, all for a very affordable price. But in any case, I think I gave you a good sample of what you can do, how easy it is to jump in and start triggering your drums. It's so easy. I don't think I left anything out, you know, as far as how to use it, what to use, what to buy, what to get, what it can do to your acoustic set. Obviously, I didn't go through a lot of sounds. I just kind of gave a sample, but there are so many sounds in this thing that you can literally change the way your drum set sounds from one song to the next. And I hope that I at least opened some of your guys' minds up to trying to trigger your acoustic set. If I did, please let me know. Please, if you record something, send me a link so I can check it out. That's it for this video. Please make sure to check out my website, KMKanDrum.com. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. And if you really like what I bring, there's some exclusive content only on Patreon. So if you're feeling a little bit generous and you want, you know, you haven't gotten enough KMKanDrum, there's a little bit more on Patreon, and I'm always going to be putting more and more exclusive content out there, and I might even be giving some merch giveaways out. So yeah, it might be worth your time to go check it out. Patreon.com/KMKanDrum. And yeah, I hope I helped you out in some way or another. I hope this video helped you get one step closer to electrifying your acoustic set. That's all for now. It's KMKanDrum. Sayonara.